Hi everyone, welcome to Qualys Board. This is Himanshu Kathpal. I am Senior Director of Product Management for Qualys Platform and Sensors. At Qualys, we are all constantly striving to provide innovative solutions that enhances the security postures of the organizations worldwide. Today, we are very excited to launch runtime software composition analysis with the Qualys Cloud Agent to discover and assess the risk of open source software vulnerabilities. Runtime SCA can be used to get real-time visibility and to get vulnerability assessment of all the open source packages and commercial software components for both first-party and third-party applications across your production environment. Today we'll be talking about the challenges which are associated with the software supply chain. We'll be providing a solution overview. We'll give you a demo and we'll share the business advantages of this solution as well. Let's first talk about the challenges and why it's an uphill battle for the security team to reduce software supply chain risk. The first and the foremost challenge is the risk associated with the open source softwares. In the realm of modern software development, open source software has achieved remarkable prominence. It is no secret that a remarkable portion of our code bases contains OSS these days. More than 90% of the organizations uses OSS and more than 60% of them qualify it to be running on the business critical applications. More than 96% of the code bases have OSS in them. Embracing the open source softwares allows developers to move fast as they don't need to reinvent the wheel and they can use the pre-existing community vetted code to make faster progress. However, this approach comes with its inherent risks. Developers needs to be aware of the vulnerabilities in the OSS which they are incorporating in their code. Although the community members are providing fixes for these vulnerabilities, it is the responsibility of the developers to ensure that they are using the latest versions of the OSS and the OSS they are embedding does not have any vulnerabilities in it. Once a vulnerability has been released in OSS, it is only a matter of time before a public exploit of it becomes available, and it gives an opportunity to even novice attackers to raise an attack on your platform. The second major challenge is the risk-based approach. With the increase in the number of vulnerabilities for both OSS and softwares, there has been a huge uptick in it. Without a risk-based approach, there is often a disconnect on what vulnerabilities to prioritize, and there is a lack of subjective understanding of what is the priority and the severity of the service, of a particular vulnerability. This often leads to a disjointed workflow where each team might prioritize their own, different vulnerabilities based on their subjective understanding. This can lead to confusion and it can waste resources as the team or the companies might end up prioritizing vulnerabilities which are not that important, leaving behind the vulnerabilities which are more critical. Till now, it was considered the responsibility of only developers to be aware of the OSS, but with the recent attacks like Log4j, Spring4Shell, 3CT, it has become evident for the cybersecurity team to embed open source software vulnerability analysis into the major cyber risk program. The third major risk is disparate and manual processes. Point solutions using different resource-intensive tools provides you an incomplete and a siloed view of the risk. They just don't provide the information you need, and it is very time-consuming and manual to make sense out of the data from different point solutions. The fourth major challenge which we see is how to communicate the risk to the stakeholders and to your executives. When a outbreak like Log4j happens, the most important thing which a company needs to do is to come together and coordinate the efforts so that they can contain and mitigate the impact. But without a unified approach or without a singular visibility into all of their vulnerabilities, it is almost impossible to do so. More often than not, the CISOs and the cybersecurity professionals are then not in a position to say confidently to their CEO about the vulnerability risk posture and if they can contain the Log4j like outbreaks or not. The fifth major challenge which we see is the security silos and the use of multiple tools. Using different agents for different functionality means it requires too many people to manage too many consoles to log into. Hiring and training these people are very difficult. This often leads to higher cost on the licensing part as well as you need to work with multiple vendors to gain those licenses and spend administrative efforts on the renewal and other getting technical support as well. But fret not. The same Qualys Cloud Agent, which you have been leveraging from more than last 7 years for vulnerability management, policy compliance, EDR, FIM, etc., can now is now extended so that you can run your software composition analysis with the same agent. This can be enabled in a single click so that you don't need to spend manual efforts or fight with the IT team to install one more agent. The agent and the Qualys platform are made to work in concert so that all the heavy analysis, data evaluation, and data enrichment can be done on the Qualys platform, keeping the system and the agent very lightweight. The agent comes with flexible configurable options so that you can define these configurations based on your environmental needs. You can either choose a full file system crawl so that we can go through all the files and identify the vulnerabilities related to open source packages and commercial software components. Or you can also choose the files in the folders which you want to include or exclude in these scans. This will help you to adapt to the various environmental needs so that if you have some environments where you cannot afford to run a scan for more than 5 minutes or the CPU is very low, you can configure the CPU configurations as well. You can also configure the scan timeout for these scans. Qualys has already released more than 13,000 QIDs for Go, .NET, Python, Java, Ruby, Rust, and more for these open source packages and commercial software components. Once SCA is enabled and agent runs the scan, these QIDs will be enabled automatically and you do not need to run any manual scripts to identify the software components. Qualys, instead of giving a plethora of the vulnerabilities, we have a risk-based approach in which we'll provide you the true risk for your assets based on the vulnerabilities, and it will be correlated to your asset risk score as well. Numbers reveal that once you start leveraging Qualys True Risk Score, you need to evaluate and work on less than 85% of the vulnerabilities in total. Uh, because you can no longer just prioritize the vulnerabilities based on the CVSS scores. You have to calculate the asset criticality and the other factors in it, including if the asset is connected to the internet or not. The best part about this feature is you can automate this feature into your existing VM workflow. So the existing API calls and the reports which you are running with VMDR module, they can be customized so that you can include the vulnerabilities for software composition analysis in it, or you can run exclusive reports for them as well. We provide you, we index all of these software components and technologies so that you get a unified view into a single dashboard, and within a single click, you can get the complete security posture of your entire organization. The solution works through the complete supply chain. This solution we have just launched for our production environments where you can install it on both Windows and Linux operating systems. We also have similar solution which works on our containers as well, through which you can evaluate the vulnerabilities associated with all the components for both open source and commercial software. Coming to the advantages of this solution. With this solution, you can proactively detect, manage, and respond to the software supply chain on day zero. Now, imagine a situation where a new zero day has been released for, let's say, Log4j. And remember the time where you had to struggle to identify how many Log4js are present in your environment, and you had to run manual scripts, you had to run multiple tools, a lot of manual efforts were required, and numbers revealed that more than 30% of the organizations are still struggling with it. But with this solution, since we'll be indexing all the components with the runtime SCA scan in a real-time basis, in a single click, you will be able to identify how many components are running in my production environment. In my previous example, if you want to analyze how many Log4js are present, in just 2 seconds, you can get to know the Log4j components across all of your environments in a single click. You'll also be able to prioritize with confidence so that you don't need to run about every single vulnerability. You can prioritize critical assets and threats based on the business context. You will get actionable insights so that you can quantify the cyber risk. We'll provide you information about the software packages, software version, the installation path, and the technology name. This will provide you a consolidated view so that you can contain the risk, and it also reduces your area to defend. The solution works seamlessly. It can be embedded into your software development lifecycle so that the security becomes an integral part of your DevOps workflow. It can also be integrated with your vulnerability management using the existing reports which you are running with Qualys or any other tool. Here's a quick demo. This is the true risk score prior to running an SCA scan. Now, as I mentioned, the SCA feature can be enabled in a single click. You can enable it via activations key so that all the agents which gets installed with this activation key gets this feature. Or you can also choose if you want to run this SCA scan on some specific assets. We'll also provide the functionality where we will beforehand provide you information if any of your assets have Java, Go, .NET, Python, etc. present in your environment, and you can activate this feature only on those assets as well. The feature is completely customizable. You can define the scan interval, you can define the paths to be crawled, you can define the scan timeout, you can define the CPU for it. And then you can create separate configuration profiles for Windows and Linux operating systems. We have excluded certain directories where we believe that there are no software components so that you don't need to worry about it and the scans can be run faster. Now, this is the dashboard and the true risk score on the assets on which SCA was enabled. So if you see, the true risk score has increased from 580 to 820 because we identified more critical vulnerabilities associated with the software components. Till now, the security teams were completely blind to these vulnerabilities. We'll provide the true risk score for these assets. For example, for this asset, the true risk score is 1000 because a lot of vulnerabilities have been identified on it. Sorry, it came ahead. Okay. Along with the true risk score, we also provide information about the QIDs. We also provide if there's a malware associated with any QID, if there's a threat actor, if the QID is getting weaponized. And then you can also filter out these, you can also create dashboards for these widgets based on the technologies and the vulnerabilities. To summarize, what are the business advantages of runtime SCA? With Qualys's unified customizable dashboards, you can quickly analyze compliance and security risk in a single pane of window. You don't. You can also drill down into these dashboards so that you can get the true risk associated with a single asset, the drift of it, how many vulnerabilities are associated with it, and what actions are needed to be taken on that asset so that you can enhance the security posture of it. You can respond faster to the software supply chain attack with the natively orchestrated VMDR workflows. You can have the same reporting. We also provide alerting option where for some critical assets or critical vulnerabilities, if you want to get alerted, that can be done as well. Qualys reduces the manual stitching of data between multiple tools. With Qualys, you can enable all of the functionalities of vulnerability management, policy compliance, SCA, FIM, EDR in a single workflow. You'll get a simplified dashboard so that you can present it to your management, and there is a singular view across your cybersecurity team, IT team, and the leadership team. This will enable you to handle the next Log4j like situations with confidence and ease. Qualys has taken a higher approach by consolidating multiple technologies in a unified workflow and with our one platform, one agent approach so that we can significantly reduce your total cost of ownership, not just based on the licenses, but based on the number of agents which you're deploying on your assets as well. That's all for today. Thank you. You have been a lovely audience.